May I come in, sir?
Yes, please do.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar, ma'am.
Namaskar,
sir.
please take a seat.
Thank you, sir.
You're Mr. Durga Prasad.
Yes, sir.
Durga Prasad, you're comfortable with the English as your medium?
Sure, sir.
Fine. And you're vaccinated?
Yes, sir.
Both doses?
Both doses.
The board is also vaccinated, so I'll advise you to remove your mask.
Sure, sir.
I want you to introduce yourself to board.
I'm Durga Prasad Adhikary. I belong to Odisha. I have done my BTech in mechanical engineering from CET Bhubaneswar. Later, I worked as associate software engineer in Robert Bosch in Bangalore. Later, I worked as assistant manager in R&D division in Maruti Suzuki and handled CNG portfolio over there. Later, I had also worked as class teacher in Vedantu Innovations Limited. As a person, I am cheerful, creative, and a very contemplative person.
Durga Prasad, I can see that you were a good student when it comes to mechanical engineering. Your CGPA is above 9, which is definitely good. And you have worked as mechanical engineer, you have worked in Maruti Suzuki. So for any mechanical engineer, it's a core job. I can also see that you're coming from a relatively humble background, economically speaking. Then why are you out on road? Why are you not pursuing your primary, the job according to your primary degree?
Yeah, basically I worked for 4 to 5 years and later I realized that there is much more to do for me because I want to join civil services because it provides me an opportunity to bring the changes that I do want to bring in society. And if I may have permission, there is one certain incident that changed whole of my outlook towards this thing. I had visited Nuhu, the very village adjoining Gurgaon. It is the most backward district as per the Niti Aayog index. And once I visited there, I found that there is much more to do for me. I was definitely working for the nation while I was in the corporate sector. However, I felt that I need to go to the ground and work directly for the people so that I may bring the change that I feel it should be there in the society.
I don't understand that why the system need a person like you to change, but let us not discuss it any further. You have taken philosophy as your optional. This is despite the fact that you were good mechanical engineer, you were in job. So what happened to that mechanical engineering? It is available in UPSC.
Basically, I am with philosophy since my childhood also. Since my childhood, I am aware of all those philosophical systems. So it was my passion since childhood. And once I find that it is available in UPSC, I thought that I should take it forward because I have learnt a lot from mechanical engineering and I thought that I should diversify my knowledge in philosophy also.
Okay. You mentioned that you are into Advaita Vedanta thing. Tell me, when we talk about Advaita, there are people who believe that the many social evils in our society, especially the Indian society, came because of the Dvaitvad, the idea that the God and the soul are different. But despite Advaitvad being there, both the Shuddha Advaitvad and the Advaitvad and other forms of Advaitvad, why the social evils are not going away? Still there is a social disharmony, knowing well that there is just one, if you want to call it Brahma or God, whatever.
Sir, I do feel Advaitvad in its pure form and in its all metaphysical forms prescribes that one is not different from the Supreme Soul and everyone is equal. However, as per the societal norms, because it also respects, because if you will see the very description of Advaitvad, it is developed into 3 levels. And they say in the Vyavaharik level, all those systems like the Dvaitvad and the Visishta Advaitvad, they are also equally true in this Vyavaharik level also, this empirical world. That's why it tries to encompass all the philosophical system into one. And however, we cannot also deny the interest, the vested interest of the socially powerful people who might take the chances of discriminations and all, and for the same reasons we have caste discrimination also. Because of all these reasons, I feel those social discriminations, are still prevalent in the society.
Okay, thank you. So,
Durga Prasad Adhikary. This surname is very interesting, Adhikary.
Yes.
How do you understand this word Adhikary?
For me, two to three different meanings would be there. One is Adhikari means the one with power, with the position. That is the monarchical system, like in the kingship what we had. The next Adhikari, even in Advait Vedant and the Vedant system also we have, that only certain people are eligible to know the things, ultimate things. That is, they say Adhikari Vad. However, I do not prescribe to any such things. I am just telling this is one of the things. Another Adhikari is the one who is content with whatever he knows, and he has Adhikar over his own interests, his own desires, his own attachments and everything.
Interesting, interesting. I mean, you spoke about monarchies, in fact. See, in medieval India, there were some monarchies there in your area, in fact. I'll tell you about, let's say, Gajpatis were there. Then there was also Narpatis, and there were also Ashwapatis. So, could you identify that which all dynasties I am referring to?
I am aware about the Gajapati dynasty. However, I am aware that the kingdoms in the south were also called the Ashwapatis, and we have all those. They were named after the animals because depending on the strength of the animals in their army, they were called. So, because Gajapati means the lord of the elephants, so they were called Gajapati, the Odia rulers, because we had lot of elephants over there in the forested areas.
Yes, interesting. I mean, if you see the location of elephants, why are they concentrated on the coastal areas, or I would say on the periphery of the Indian boundaries?
I'm quite not sure about that, because in the current context they are in the they are much more prevalent in the central part, like the Karnataka, not near the coastal Karnataka, but in the central Karnataka, and they have the highest population over there. I'm not aware of the pertinent fact why they are situated in coastal regions. Sorry, sir.
Okay, interesting. So you have talked about Gajapatis. All right, you know about the Gajapati dynasty. Tell us one very great achievement of Gajapati dynasty.
In fact, the Odia freedom struggle was all inspired by Maharaja Krishna Chandra Gajapati Dev, the heir of the Gajapati dynasty. He was also the part of the Constituent Assembly of the India and represented Odisha over there. And in fact, if we delve into their social side, he said that he is credited for making the educational and the health systems in the Gajapati area, that is the Parla Khemundi area, very great, and that was comparable to one of the highest standards in India at those point of time.
Interesting. You must have heard about this recent demand of reinstituting old pension scheme. Now, what is your opinion regarding old pension scheme? Do you support such a demand?
I'm really sorry, I'm not aware of the nitty-gritties of the old pension scheme and the new national pension scheme. I will go and read back on it.
All right. So tell us something about your own state. Your own state also has this particular old pension scheme?
Yes, I remember, that is Madhubabu pension scheme they have.
So what is that Madhubabu pension scheme?
Again, I'm sorry, sir, I'm not aware of the nitty-gritties of the things, but I know it is a pension scheme. I have heard of it.
All right. See, I give you another very interesting point of observation. On one hand, India's position on the global hunger index is very poor. You must be knowing that India has been positioned somewhere around 101st in the recent publication of the report. On the other hand, we are also a country having a production of around 300 million tons of food grains. Why this dichotomy is there, in fact, that we are producing huge amount of food production. On the other hand, we are also a country which is lying on the bottom of the hunger index.
Somewhere, if I will see, that is the mismatch of the ones who are needy are not getting it. The problem is the accessibility and affordability, the thing. Because the ones who are very destitute, very poor, are on the bottom lines. They are not being able to avail the systems that is being given by the government. Like in Odisha, we have the 2 rupees rice system and all those PDS systems and all. Another fact is that we are not also being able to properly use our food resources, like the lack of food processing centers.
Now, let's stick with the PDS. As you spoke about the PDS in Odisha, tell us something about the PDS in Odisha. How effective is it functioning there?
I feel it is functioning very well, sir, because in fact many people are satisfied with the current governance system in Odisha, and that is solely reason of this 2 rupees rice system, and there have been very less hunger deaths in the last few years, only with the exception during the COVID days, during which the migrant crisis happened. However, with respect to the overall development, I see a huge gap, but with respect to hunger and all, Odisha is making good progress.
So then why Kalahandi is so infamous?
In earlier days it was infamous, but nowadays the system on ground has undergone a huge lot of change.
Tell me any 3 major social schemes which have been launched by the Odisha government recently.
The social schemes, the one is the Biju Kalia Yojana for the farmers and all. The next is they have done the Mamta Yojana for the women and child development. And the number 3 that they have done is the Mission Shakti they have done. Mission Shakti, that is for the promoting of the SSGs, and it is regarding the social upliftment of the women as such.
Thank you.
Durga, your optional is philosophy, right?
Yes, sir.
I think, therefore I am. Can you explain the statement?
This is a very famous statement from Rene Descartes, cogito ergo sum in his own words. That is, he says that I exist as a being because I am able to think. That's wherein he brings the rationalism school of thought into process, and he says that thought process is the ultimate thing, and by the virtue of we are thinking, we are there. If I may find a parallel in the Indian Upanishads, it is in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also we find a similar reverberations wherein they says that at the end, due to the thinking you exist.
Okay. Tell me about the Socrates connotation of idea and how idea is different from the perception.
Idea, as per Socrates, was one of the most primary thing, and maybe the all thing which was later influenced by Plato also, who took it to the most metaphysical side and connoted it as the metaphysical thing. They say that by perception we cannot know the idea because they are in the transcendental world which is beyond this empirical world, and perception is related to this material world which you can see, touch and feel.
What's the use of wisdom or conscious for the exact definition of the idea?
I feel the intelligence is the part which will recognize and later reconciliate all the feelings that we have, because pen is not the single object but rather the class of pen that we will identify by seeing every other pen later on. This thing is wholly processed and analyzed by the intellectual part, and the concept of the pen is derived when we correlate all those knowledge and we produce wisdom.
Okay, good. Plato has enumerated 4 kind of virtues: temperance, courage, justice and wisdom, correct? Which one is considered as a cardinal virtue?
I'm a bit confused about it, but as far as I can recollect, it was justice which we uphold as the highest virtue.
Do you have all 4 virtues?
As a person in me?
Yeah, I'm talking about you only.
I feel certainly I do have some part of all these virtues. May not be 100, because if I will be 100%, I will be enlightened as such. I am a mortal being with all those
Choose some example from your past life and prove yourself that you have 1 or 2 virtues.
With respect to, if I will see justice as such, during my college days when I was cultural secretary also, a very close friend of mine approached for a position during the during the cultural fest also. But and another person who was with well-known, with well etiquettes and who was well deserving came to me. But at that point of time, I did not let my emotions to upheaval me, and I gave the position to the one who deserved it. Maybe that led to a very big clash between me and my friend on later part. But it was justice which I served as the responsibility of my position, and I did not deserve it.
Yeah, please go ahead.
With respect to those values of temperance and compassion and all, I feel my life is also dedicated to that, because I feel myself influenced by this Vedic texts of Siva Paramo Dharma and Paropakara Punyayam Papaya Parapidanam. And there are many instances wherein I have helped the pet animals or the old age people, and I do not count all such incidents, but these are a part of my life. Whenever and wherever possible, I do.
What is your connotation regarding the existence of God? I have to understand, and I am willing to understand since my childhood, whether God exists or not. What is your connotation? Have you studied in paper 2?
Yes, sir, I have.
Please.
With respect to all the things in paper 2, but if I may say what I feel, I feel God is something that can only be experienced if one trusts it, and if one does not trust it, there is no need to experience it. It is like the anchor, it is like the stability that one provides to the people when they are in very mean times, when they are in very desperate times. It is like the anchor.
What philosophy says regarding the existence of God?
Philosophies, it says the Vedic texts, they say yes, there is God, that is the Brahman, that is the Eko Brahma Dvitiya Nasti, they say there is one God. with respect to other schools, like Buddhism denies any god as such, any supreme being as such. However, they do, they say that there is nirvana and all. The Jainism also denies one single god. The Abrahamic religions like the Islam and the Christianity propagate there is one god. So there are different maths, there are different viewpoints in about God in the philosophies.
Can you explain the connotation of moral will of Kant?
Kant says that both means and ends are important, and one cannot sacrifice means for the ends. It is like the Vedic, what we see in the Adrash or the karma theory, that somewhere the balance must also be there between the means and not solely focused on the ends. And this is what he says, that the utmost moral of the human being should also focus on the every point of journey that he focuses and not on the destination itself.
Immanuel Kant said that humans should consider as a as ends rather than means. What it means? What the exact message coming out from this statement?
Sir, I feel with this he said that the humans must not be exploited, humans must not be denigrated, humans must not be discriminated to achieve some goal for the society. At the end, each human has its own dignified human existence, and that he must get the deserving respect for it.
Okay, good.
Okay, so Durga Prasad, what is meditation?
I feel meditation is the process of being one with oneself, abstracting oneself from all the distractions and concentrating on oneself to know who am I in actual.
And if we add the word contemplative, how does the definition changes?
When we add the word contemplative, the process itself changes a bit, because in that process I see that I ask perhaps myself that whether I am this skin, the answer is no. Whether I am this muscle, the answer is no. I go deeper and deeper and ask myself, who am I? That is equivalent to the non-IR method of the Raman Maharshi also. So it is contemplation about my real existence.
Okay, so you are a mechanical engineer.
Yes.
Okay. So you might have engineering drawing as a subject.
Yes, I have.
Can you define what is point?
This perhaps is the most simple thing but the hardest to explain, and I can say this is a symbol of existence in the whole universe.
As a mechanical engineer, how would you define point?
I cannot define it as such, sir. The definition, I can feel it, I can draw it, I can tell it, but maybe this is a marker to mark something, a point, like point A, point B, where does this point lies, A or B. This is a marker to mark something.
I think you also would have done foundry workshop in mechanical engineering.
Yes.
So if I have to make a aluminium wheel, what is the process? Can you explain the process?
The first thing that if we have the aluminum as such in pure form, we have to melt it. Otherwise, the process is of the bauxite, all these ladle things. Assuming we have the pure aluminum, we will melt it. We will pour it in a ladle. On the parallel side, we will draw the die of the wheels. And as the wheel is there, we will do two dies as such, and with the middle parting line. And then with that, then making a hole, and we will pour that molten aluminum, and we will do the proper cooling method, like that tempering and all, as per our requirement, the requirement based on the hardness or the strength. And later we will open up the die and take out the wheel.
Okay, then you'll cool it.
That is the same. Means after it is cooled in the die, we can take it out.
If we cool it with water, there are air droplets coming in the final product that we have got. So how will remove the air droplets?
After
cooling with water, there might be air droplets in the final product we have got. It might not be finished product. How will you finish it? How will you make it more finished products?
If the air droplets are inside the casting, we cannot do anything. Rather we can just cut it open and see.
Okay, so I will just interrupt you. So what care would we take to remove the air droplet so that air droplet does not get inside the product?
It should be gradual cooling, because when we cool it with water, it is a rapid cooling, and due to rapid cooling, the metal shrinks very fast, so the air bubbles come. If you will cool it rapidly with the excess minerals, excess aluminum, the molten aluminum there through the things, then it will not have air bubbles.
Just a simple question. You have AC at your home?
Yes, sir.
So we see AC comes in rating like 1 ton, 1.5 ton, 2 ton ACs, we say in general terms. So what does this mean? 1 ton, 2 ton? What does this mean? What does this signifies?
This is the amount of air that the AC cools per cycle.
Per cycle. Cycle Can you define in time? What cycle?
The natural thermodynamic cycle, that is the set parameters are there, the standardized parameters, they define it with respect to time.
Okay.
Durga Prasad, can you tell me why the mangrove forest in Odisha have actually risen by 8 square kilometer? What did we do right over there and not in other mangrove dense areas?
I feel it was the proactive approach of the state government and the community vigilantism, because with the rise in the olive ridley tortoise through the coastline, the state government was very vigilant, and the communities were also trained that we have to protect the natural environment as such, so that these things are not hampered.
Okay, Sundarban is actually one of the largest mangrove areas in the world. However, when you compare Sundarban to Bhitarkanika, the Bhitarkanika actually has more than 60 species, where Sundarban has only 24 species. Why is that?
I am not able to, I cannot say it properly with correctness, but I feel that Bhitarkanika has a much more edge effect, the ecotone part, because the transition between the land ecosystem and the sea ecosystem would have been over a greater thing, so that
then the edge effect should be there in West Bengal Sundarbans, the Sundarbans.
Yes, it should be there. I feel that should not be more pronounced in Sundarban. Maybe it is more pronounced in Bhitarkanika.
How can it be less pronounced when it's exactly same geomorphology, exactly same coastline, exactly same sea touching both the coasts?
I'm not aware of the nitty-gritties.
Okay. When we talk about SARC, it has not been in force in some time, and there have been no meetings that have taken place. If you are advisor to Prime Minister and if you have to advise on revival of the SARC, what steps would you tell the Prime Minister, to revive the SARC again?
The first thing that I would recommend or advise the Prime Minister to have a meeting with all the stakeholders and with immediate effect, maybe at the earliest, so that the next part is the we will see if
you would advise meeting with all the members in together or one by one?
I would prescribe one by one better to
starting with
with Nepal or Bhutan.
With Nepal? Yes. Nepal and Bhutan are the irritants in SARC?
No, not because they are irritants, but because we
have good relations with Nepal and Bhutan. I don't think once the issue with Pakistan are resolved, they would be the ones who would be blocking the SARC.
I feel that by focusing on the smaller nations, India can show its commitments to the neighbors, that though being the small neighbors, we are yet equally concerned about them. Regarding the rogue nations like Pakistan, we need to have a different strategy that would be based on very thorough diplomatic channels, the back channel diplomacy, because we have been trying that since many years and we have not got the results. So we need to rethink and brainstorm on the things how we can deal with Pakistan as such.
Okay. What do you understand by Colombo Security Conclave?
I'm not aware of it.
Okay. There has been a shortage of semiconductors world over since some time. Can you tell me why? What is the reason?
The semiconductor thing, the shortage of semiconductor happening now is due to the mismatch of the demand and supply over this time, because during the COVID pandemic, the companies had to cut short the semiconductors because there was no demand as such. Later now, when the economy...
In fact, there was huge demand during pandemic because of the shift to work from home. Everybody needed all the devices to, work on work from home, and that's when the demand actually surged.
I feel, but that is one part of the story, because the other part is the automobile sector and all those sectors like the many electronic parts. They saw a very dip. So what I have felt that because of all those dip, there was a marginal dip in those days. Later, when the automobile sector and other sectors revamped, then there was a demand supply mismatch, and owing to these things like the more work from home things and the the air purifiers, which saw a very surge in these things, and the big machines like the ECMO and the medical supplies, the demand for the semiconductor has surged very highly, but we are not able to meet it.
Okay, what do you understand by duty inversion, and do you think this duty inversion is playing a role in India not being able to become a player of semiconductor devices or semiconductor chips?
The duty inversion is the thing where the raw materials are taxed heavily as compared to the final products, due to which the final products are cheaper, and the local manufacturers using the raw materials which are taxed higher make the products very much costlier. And somewhere I do feel that yes, this is one of the reasons for the semiconductor issue, means not the semiconductor industry in India not matching its potential despite the huge demand. I feel the government is also working on the same things, and it has also been identified by the government.
Okay, thank you, Durga Prasad.
Okay, Mr. Durga Prasad, you must have heard that the budget is placed on the floor of the house. It happens every year. What are the papers that are placed on the floor of the house? When the budget is presented, what are the papers?
The papers related to the proposed expenditure and the income of the government, the revenue receipts.
Okay, the statement of receipts and expenditure, is that the only paper?
And the fiscal consolidation paper, the FRBM paper, as per the FRBM Act, the fiscal, I am not able to recollect the proper name, but there is one paper that is also placed that shows how healthy is the fiscal system, and that is due to the FRBM Act. After the FRBM Act was there, we are placing.
Under which article of the Indian Constitution budget is placed?
It is 112.
112.
Annual financial statement.
And is there any act or bill is also placed at the floor of the house along with the statement of expenditure and receipts?
Any bill?
Any bill? Obviously, there had to. If it is a legislative work, there must be some bills.
Yes.
Which bill are presented?
It must be money bill, sir.
What is the bill for budget is called?
I'm not aware of the name, sir.
You have never heard of the appropriation bill? You have never heard of the finance bill? No?
Yes, I have heard. I'm sorry, I could not relate it to this thing. Yes, I have heard. Finance bill and appropriation.
Okay, tell me the finance bill. Where will it originate? In which department?
I'm not aware of all these nitty-gritties. I'm really sorry. I will read about it, sir.
No problem. If you look at international thing, do you believe that how much of the Russia-Ukraine crisis is due to the behavior of Putin, personality of Putin?
I feel that both the sides had some reasons to fight.
That's too diplomatic. I'm asking a direct question. I'm expecting it. All through your conversation, you have been evasive. I'm giving you last opportunity to be concrete for the first time. For the Russia-Ukraine crisis, how much of it you believe is because of Putin's personality?
I feel it should be less than 25% maybe.
Okay, so 75% is other factors than Putin. Nice talking to you. Your interview is over. You can go now.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar. May I come in, sir?
Yes, please do. Please take your seat. Durga Prasad, you still have around 15 days to work. You're a nice, your personality is good. You have a nice diverse background with you. And diverse background is always good when it comes to the civil services. The board will be able to see it, and at least couple of members will be very happy to have a personality like yours, because there it's a possibility of getting into some deeper conversations, which to some extent the abstract conversation which some member, one or two board member may actually enjoy. But my advice will be that overall the nature of the civil services personality test is not that abstract. That's been a practice all through. So while it is good that you are able to handle the philosophy very well, whenever philosophy is discussed, there is a sparkle in your eye and you appears to be at home, which is a nice thing to a limited extent, because beyond that point what happens, the board members will be able to see it very early, and then they'll push you to the concrete aspects of the objective aspects of the things, which effectively means that if you're having a good conversation with one member, it may lead to a very concrete, very factual conversation with the other member, and there you have to be very confident. Because if you're not able to show that yes, I can think abstract, but I am good at concrete aspect also, then board members will take it as a lopsided personality, right? So my advice will be that please balance these two aspects in your conversation all through 30 minutes. That should be your endeavor. It should not appear that you are a person of abstract ideas only. Then it will go against you. Something which is your strength will unfortunately become your weakness. Don't let it reflect it that way. I'm sure you got what my worry is, right? Other things in general you are doing well. Whenever you're discussing philosophy, as I said, you are feeling at home. Conversation part are good. Your entry is good. Your sitting posture is good. though I didn't like your glasses, but I can't do much about it. But if you have any choice, if you have any other option of changing your glass from to a different glass which looks better on your face, it is unnecessarily increasing 3, 4, 5 years to your age, right? So it should not be that thick a frame. That's my reading, but as I said, it's going to be your judgment. Look at it carefully, that whether you can consider for 30 minutes wearing a different glass, right? That is one. Otherwise, sitting posture is good, voice level is very good, there isn't much hand movement. There was a hand movement when you were discussing foundry and casting. Actually, you didn't discuss casting at all. You were discussing only the foundry aspect of it. So you should have actually be discussing the whole thing. But yes, there was a little hand movement only there. Otherwise, in general, it was good. Eye contact was also good, flow was also good. But there were certain areas in the discussion where it appears that you were trying to manage with the thoughts and ideas when the facts were being discussed. That can be sometimes to some members, I won't call it irritating, but they'll not be happy. You must have noticed what happened when you were asked to define a point, which is fine that you may or may not know the definition of point, but you cannot unnecessarily take it to the philosophy thing when the context was served to you that we are talking about mechanical engineering, right? The meaning of the question in the context that is being given, that will be good. Other things in general, you're good. Do read these some nitty-gritties, for example, OPS, NPS, these things are, or your Odisha state, that will be good. Other things, you're doing very good, right? So you must have understood that when this last question came, it was primarily a comment on the entire interview that was happening, right? So I think that will be good, that if you're able to gauge what is happening in the mind of the board members, so that you are able to correct it midway rather than it going all the way till end, right? Other things, definitely very good. I enjoyed conversation. The problem is that I enjoy philosophy. They may not enjoy philosophy, right? All the best.
Thanks a lot.